Hey, this is Chadillac. Welcome back to the Cage Rage podcast. I'm here with your fight analyst and co-host, Miguel Iturrate. Miguel, how are you today?
Good, Chad. Glad to be back on the Cage Rage podcast and ready to go here. Another MMA one in the books, heading to the 145-pound featherweights.
Yeah, so we've got Holloway and Ortega coming up.
Yeah, this is a fight I think we got to talk about on two levels. I think Ortega is coming up undefeated, and Holloway with the long winning streak. He's got the longest winning streak going in the UFC right now. Really a guy, he hasn't lost since he fought Conor McGregor. And back in the day, he took McGregor the full 5 rounds and stuff like that. You got to say Max is a much, much better fighter now than he was back then, right? Max has really put the work in. He's really done, in the ring, he's gotten the job done. And that's important, too, because a lot of guys put in a lot of training that still fall short sometimes, So a 12-fight winning streak in the UFC means something. I think Holloway, you're talking about a guy that is at the peak of his powers. And I say that, unfortunately for Max, it comes with an asterisk because of the concussions and because of brain injuries and stuff like that, and it's something that we're a little bit concerned about, another podcast. I want to wave a little bit of a flag to Holloway because the way things have matched up for him, first of all, I think it comes from a guy who's an extremely hard worker. So if at some point you're not differentiating much in your training from training to live fighting, you're not protecting yourself, you may be taking damage as well, outside of the fights that doesn't really get logged or tracked anyway properly. Right? Max may be susceptible to that because, what we have is everything, and the characteristics are there of a hard worker. Those showing up to fights, they cancel because of, concussion syndrome or symptoms and things like that. And that's something a little bit worrisome and also hints at a guy who's trained rough, and that's what makes him so tough as a fighter, and so the arc has been, heading up in the last little bit because of that. Like, if it comes with a little bit of a downside and a B-side, there's a little bit of a danger. In Ortega, I think we have a much fresher fighter. I think we have a guy that's younger in his career, and that's coming up, and I think we've got a fresh body that brings, a live game, which is nice to see because UFC tends to break that into the standard fight every once in a while. And with these guys, you got a chance to break the ball.
So I guess I don't know the actual stats on those guys. I should have looked that up and been a professional about it, but I didn't. So I didn't realize that Ortega was that much younger than Holloway, or I guess I didn't realize Holloway had that much age on him. Is it that he's got that much age, or is it just that much road wear?
No, I think it's a combination of both things, right? But I do think road wear is becoming a concern in the back of my mind with Max Holloway. In this particular fight, he can come out, do spectacular, get into the ground, win by submission, or knock him out in 10 seconds, not get hurt. And then, I'm worried that, people might poo-poo or brush aside the whole history of things. Max Holloway is starting to be a little bit of a concern, He's, first of all, he's a soldier, and
right.
One of the things I found out is you got to know your guys, right? There's a certain guy who's never going to say no to a fight, There's a certain type of guy that has that certain mindset, and you kind of, in that includes a little bit of sometimes injury denial and things like that. It's like you just got your bell rung in practice. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing good. I'm no problem. You go home and you're on your own, whatever. And that's a worry for me. I express this concern because it's not just with Max, it's every team and every fighter, but you got your guys, right? So I think when you have a weight replacement in the McGregor and the Khabib fight, not the McGregor, but the McGregor and Khabib incident with the bus caused Khabib's fight, to change and stuff. Holloway was right there to step in. Talk about a champion moving up in weight on 5 days' notice.
Right.
You can't make that type of guy. You can't ask. You can ask 100 guys. Most guys would say no. So in Holloway, you're talking about kind of what makes him special. Maybe a little bit of the burden he's going to be carrying later on, because you at some point may have an obligation to protect a guy like that against himself.
Right.
It's like if he's been up with concussions and things like that, you kind of got to worry a little bit about him. But here, he's also a frontline guy, a champion. Perhaps with Demetrius Johnson guy, maybe the pound-for-pound guy.
I can't remember being this excited about a fight since Holloway and Ferguson. Ortega's the kind of guy that, he's Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, so he's got that old school Gracie style. And he's going up against Holloway, who's the 10th Planet, Eddie Bravo Jiu-Jitsu, and those two really want to square off, and they really want to. You get the idea that even if they didn't throw fists, that they would want to do a grappling tournament together, and they would want to grapple, and so I have a really good feeling that we're going to see some serious grappling in this. I hope so. I really, really hope so. I hope we see some awesome clinch work. But I would cream my jeans if somebody pulled guard and just started working from the back and started crawling and sweeping and started going for leg locks right away, and God, that would be so amazing. I would love all of that. That would be amazing. I don't think we're going to see all of that, but the possibilities there, right? I mean, for the real MMA nerds like us, that's there, especially the grappling guys like us,
Yeah, I think. Well, I mentioned it earlier. I think that UFC's fights nowadays, with the training being pretty balanced, and the fact that you usually go into the ring knowing something about your opponent. I mean, there's certain things that have made it stock. It kind of falls into, like, a lot of the fights fall into the same pattern. Things like that. Yeah, but so this fight does have a chance of breaking the mold. Both guys are very talented. I like the Ortega factor, as I mentioned, like being a fresh body. I think, he's got some likenesses, especially too with charisma and stuff, to what Anthony Pettis was like in the very early days when he was coming up. And I think that Latino star is something that the UFC, has probably, been looking for since Tito Ortiz, right? So, Holloway, I think Holloway kind of, and again, not to harp too much on it's a great fight, and I don't want to harp too much on what I'm worried about with Max, but I do want it to be out there because everybody should be concerned a little bit, especially if Max, gets into another war or something like that, or shows up in another fight, he shows up in a fight with a black eye. It's like he's training too hard. Those are headshots. Those are stuff.
Right.
Things like that. So you kind of got to worry about things. But with all that aside, I think Max has his role's already set. By that I mean Max is going to be a guy that whatever you ask him to do, he'll put in the work and get it done. And that's the kind of guy you got there. You got a soldier, you got a hard worker. You don't get that at the elite of every single type. Jump Jones had his problems. And other guys. McGregor's. Wants to go to the beat of his own drum. The Diaz brothers are always hard. So once you get to a certain level, you become a little bit of a character to deal with negotiations and things like that. And I think Holloway's beneath that still. I think Holloway's a guy that still shows himself. Got a contract. I'm getting paid X. That's good. I'm going. I signed. I'm there. And he puts the work and things like that. So he's a good guy, you want to reward guys like that. So you see, we'll see how he breaks down because this fight, Ortega could very well win this fight. And then if he does, then does Holloway get a rematch? You kind of got to give the guy a rematch, right?
Absolutely.
A shot at McGregor. He's been the champion, So, but is it so absolute that the guy gets a rematch? Did Stipe Miocic get a rematch?
Well,
Keeping the longest defending heavyweight champion in UFC history, and he doesn't wait a rematch because Brock Lesnar wants to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another podcast. But here's the thing. Let's say that, I mean, whichever guy wins the fight, it really doesn't matter. It almost automatically dictates that we have a rematch, as long as it's a good fight. I mean, if it's a walkthrough and it's just totally one-sided, that's different. But I can't imagine that being the case. That could happen, but it sure doesn't seem like that's even a possibility, on paper, when you watch them train, when you listen to their trainers, when you look at their videos, when you look at, you look at fight reels and stuff, you just look at them on paper and Jesus Christ, these guys are, I mean, this is a cream dream of a fight. And I can't see this fight not going 3 rounds. Unfortunately, I don't know that I can't see it going 5 rounds too, though. And that kind of sucks because I don't know where I can see either guy being able to stop the other guy unless they just get that punch in. Because I don't see either guy being able to submit the other. I don't see that being a possibility unless they're dry and they catch them, right in the first round and it just happens. But man, that's pretty unlikely with these two guys. Both of them have huge gas tanks, and both of them come on stronger in the third round than they do in the first. And so, I guess you got to give the favor to Holloway, right? Just because of his ability, of his ring time and his just general character.
Resume, yeah, he's the defending champion. I would not send Max Holloway into this fight as an underdog, right? So but
by how much?
We'll look it up here in a minute. But the end of the day here, it goes like this, right? You're saying that you don't know if one guy can overwhelm the other. Well, if that happens, that might be the right thing to do because you can always bring the other guy back and build him back up and they fight, in three, 4 fights down the line. So that could help, sell a rematch. But they are pretty even. And when you have a fight like that, there's always a couple of different paths the fight can go. One guy can win, the other guy can win. How does this guy win? His tendencies. So you can always say 3 or 4 possibilities. You're going to be right in there as to how the fight goes, unless something shocking happens. Well, this fight, I think there's more X factors. I think you have less predictable ways that it could go. You're right. I think with the pedigree both guys have, with the trash talk both guys have done, it could wind up going to the ground. You could see, a earlier type of fight like we haven't seen in a little while in the UFC. You know what I mean? A real ground fight special, something that we used to see like Joe Laws in or something like that, where you're actually seeing ground practitioners fight ground work. That guy's just, trying to hold a guy punching him off of you. You know what I mean? So I think that's a nice possibility. I think we could even burn off a round like that. You know what I mean? I love the potential that happens when, they can go to the ground and in a real roll where, nothing settle and they wind up on their feet again and crowd applause, It's not the UFC's.
Okay, well let's do this. Let me give you a couple of scenarios, and you tell me your pick. I'm not holding you to anything. These aren't real picks, but just tell me what you think would happen. Okay, round 3. It's a round apiece. They come out in round 3, and obviously it's a 5-round fight, but they come out in round 3, and they're both pretty fresh. They've both taken a few punches. They've been up and down a little bit, and they're 1 round each. Holloway clips clips him and drops him, goes to the ground to finish him, gets caught in his guard. What happens?
The most likely option there is that they're going to stall. You know what I mean? Unless he's really got his bell rung. But, you'll see guys. One of the things I like about this, and one of the reasons I think this fight has the potential to be special, is because it's happening at 145. I think the bigger you got guys, you get the more standard fights. You know what I mean? Here, I think with the skill set of these guys, you have the potential for something unique to happen there. You know what I mean? So I think you could see it go to the ground. I think you could see a guy get caught quickly. I think that would be, like you said, unlikely because both guys are skilled, but it could happen. Maybe the guy gets his bell rung and gets caught in the head and arm triangle, on the way down or whatever it is. They're just some moves that once they're in, it doesn't matter who you are. You know what I mean? For me, I think Ortega's the guy who has maybe a little more of those X factors in there. I think Holloway's the guy who would benefit from keeping a high pace, but fighting a standard fight, a fight where he won a round or two. Tricia, yeah, he landed more leg kicks, he landed more punches, nothing definitive. That benefits Holloway a little more, especially with the head, with the head trauma stuff. I don't want Holloway walking into round 4 having absorbed a lot of punches because he's going to be punch drunk, and you got to just be worried. I have an extra concern for Holloway in that case. So you don't know because if it breaks down into a stand-up fight, I see both guys drinking that up too. The crowd responds, and all of a sudden you're in a different ball game.
So fantasy scenario number 2. Holloway comes out, fires a couple. Ortega pushes him against the fence. Holloway kind of kneels down. Ortega catches him with the knee or something like that. They're in clinch. And Ortega catches him and has a guillotine, and I mean really sinks it, and tries to pull that standing guillotine from guard. Tries to pull standing guard guillotine. Do you see him finishing Holloway there?
You said in round 1, like early in the fight,
or round 2, or round 1 or round 2. Kind of early in the first or early in the second round. Just fantasy stuff, just playing around.
No, of course. The guillotine's a tricky thing. To me, it feels to me like, if you've got the guillotine, you've got the guillotine quick. Some guys settle into it, but once you get a guy with skill, allow him his chance of defending it. It is a defendable position, right? So you kind of got to slip it and get it and just nail it. And then the other part of it is if you haven't nailed it, you see guys spending energy, and if you're spending 30 seconds trying to get a guillotine and you don't get it, how are you going to pay the price with how tired your arms are, if you in round 3 where you got to lift them and play boxing defense again.
Yeah.
So it really is the kind of thing where you got to know you have it. And so with these guys, if he knows he has it, I mean, you've seen high-level guys get caught, when the guy goes up and he feels like, but it happens, and both of these guys are capable of that. So I would say 50-50 because, it's a defendable position. They're dry, and you got Holloway strong. The guillotine is also a little bit better once you've got the guy's bell rung a little bit. You can hurt him if you can hurt him with a punch, nail the guillotine, you got a good shot at sinking it quickly and getting out of there real fast. I don't like to see guys struggle 45 seconds trying to adjust and get the guillotine. I think it's arm wearing and counterproductive in a long part of the fight.
Agreed. Okay, one more fantasy scenario. Round 4. End of the round. Hard fought round. Obviously, both guys are starting to, their tanks are low now. They've been battling for a long time. And Holloway gets Ortega's back. However, somehow he sweeps him, gets his back through a sweep. What happens there?
I give Max credit. I think Max, there are certain positions. If you're on top late in the fight, in a dominant position where you're now on the back, you can't let the guy up. You got to get out of there. And probably the best way for Max to do it is with strikes.
You think he finishes him there?
I think he has to blow his load trying. I think you do. I think any way the guy I think you blow your load trying, the guy comes out the next round with a little bit of confidence because you're tired and because he took everything you have. But I think if you don't do that, the guy still comes out with the confidence that he survived you on his back, right?
Yeah.
So you got to throw the kitchen sink at him. And like I said, there's some positions. If you're, I've seen guys mounted and they don't finish.
Right.
A mount position is you got to finish. And in jiu-jitsu, you're in a dominant, you've gotten points and stuff. UFC, I guess you're getting points with the judges, right? But those guys don't know what they're looking at sometimes,
Right,
A couple of punches, about 3 minutes worth of groundwork. You know what I mean? In judging. So I don't know how it goes in the UFC every once in a while if you can rely on it so much. So I think, if you get anybody anywhere, but especially at that fight where Ortega's probably hurt Max by round 4. Max has felt that. You've got to finish. If you've got a kill position, you've got to kill.
God, that's such an exciting fight. I can't wait. It's a cream dream of a fight, and I can't wait for it. Okay, so I've been checking out what Ortega's been saying about this, and one of the big things that he's talked about is, he respects the game. He respects his opponent, and he talks a lot about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and he respects Gracie Jiu-Jitsu through Helio, on down. He respects the family name and all of that stuff. I'm almost shocked that at some point they don't come in and start and rename him Gracie. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that at some point. I don't think he would do that, but the Sea City boy, man, he's something else, and he's super exciting. He's got all the Playboy charisma. He's young. He's charismatic. He's got everything going for him. And like you said, this could be Holloway's kind of his last hurrah. If he wins this fight, he steps up and maybe he gets the big fight with like McGregor, or does he fight Khabib? Can he do that?
Khabib's going to be suspended, so we'll see. But
when he comes out of suspension, does that happen? Where does he go if he wins?
I think you got Khabib Ferguson that's got to get figured out.
Okay. So skip that. So that's too hard to figure out. Where does Ortega go if he doesn't do an automatic rematch?
These guys can sit and be the kingpins of this weight class for a little bit. Moving up and down and stuff is complicated, or the other divisions are busy. You might do a rematch if there's a good fight. They're in an interesting situation because, there isn't a real common exponent. Let me be clear about resumes. You give Holloway a lot of credit for his resume, and he deserves it. And he's been champion, beat Aldo, and done that. But the bottom line is Ortega hasn't fought slouches at all. Especially in his last run, starting maybe from Charles Oliveira is a pretty tough guy. You had Jeremy Stevens there.
Yeah.
Those are guys that are pretty, at the start of his run. Then the guys after that, Cub Swanson, Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar won his last fight. Edgar, is a former champion, maybe a little older now, but Edgar's a very meaningful win. Stopped in round 1.
Edgar's durable, man.
Yeah, so you got to give Ortega his props, even though I still think he's short on the experience and when you balance him out against Max. I think whoever is tough, you can set up who the next contender is. I don't know if it's Asuncion at this point. You might, but I would go ahead. He hasn't fought Asuncion, I don't think. So I'd look. He just has to defend. Make 3 defenses. Okay,
so we've talked a lot about that. You know a little bit extra about Holloway because you know his manager Shu Harada. I don't know if you want to say. I don't know if that's okay to say or not.
Yeah, no, I have no extra insight on Max because of Shu. I just know he manages him, but we've never really. I've talked about him. He's a good kid. I haven't had a conversation with him about him in 4 years though.
Okay. So listen, we've beat this one to death. We're super excited about the fight. Tune in for this one. What's the date on this fight? I don't even remember the date now. Do you know?
The date is December 8th at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto.
God, it's going to be so awesome. I can't wait. The 8th. So the 8th of December, there's going to be an ass kicking in Toronto. Hey, don't forget to subscribe below. Let us know what you do and don't think. Check out the show notes. We're trying to get better at staying up on those. Miguel's very hip at writing show notes, so you can tell him how cool he is. Send us emails at Chadillac at the Cage Rage Podcast, Miguel at the CageRagePodcast.com. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe below. Thanks, everybody. Peace out. Namaste.
Dennis!
I'm gonna beat your ass!
Dude, Dennis!